And that's why we're announcing that Canada will be introducing a series of countermeasures to protect Canadian steel and aluminum workers and producers.
Hold up, Canada did what? You mean to tell me that the country famous for apologizing just told the U.S. no more steel? We're done. You can't make this stuff up. And if you thought Donald Trump was fired up before, oh buddy, he's about to burst a vein. This is more than just a trade squabble. This is the escalation of a full-on economic standoff between two of the world's tightest allies. For years, the U.S. and Canada have operated like conjoined twins in the steel industry, reliant, interwoven, and economically inseparable. But now, that bond is under a blowtorch. Canada has officially suspended all steel exports to the United States in direct response to Donald Trump's move to reinstate 25% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. And if you're wondering, didn't we already go through this in 2018? You'd be right. But this time, the gloves are off, and Canada's not playing the polite neighbor anymore. The timeline? It's tight. On July 5th, 2025, Trump, in the middle of his campaign rally tour, made a fiery speech in Michigan. We're being crushed! Canadian steel is killing American jobs! I'm putting America first again! And within days, he signed an executive order slapping a 25% tariff on all Canadian steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum. It was vintage Trump, loud, controversial, and aimed straight at his Rust Belt voter base. Then came the silence, not from the media, not from the opposition, from Canada. For 18 days, Canadian officials said nothing. No tweets, no interviews, just silence. Until July 23rd, Ottawa emerged with a bombshell. Canada will temporarily suspend all steel exports to the United States, effective immediately. No room for negotiation, no easing in, just bam, steel doors closed. Now let's rewind this back a few years, because this beef isn't new. In 2018, Trump first used Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act to justify tariffs on Canadian metals, calling it a matter of national security. Yes, Canada, the ally who stood with the U.S. through 2 world wars, was suddenly a threat. The backlash was immediate. Canadian farmers, auto manufacturers, and even local American businesses begged for sanity. Eventually, under Biden, things cooled off. Tariffs were reduced, and cross-border trade started to normalize. But here's the kicker. Canada didn't forget. Behind closed doors, they began diversifying trade partnerships with the EU, the UK, South Korea, India, and even Latin America. By 2024, Canadian officials had structured new supply routes and built buffer zones in their economy, just in case the storm returned. And wouldn't you know it, Trump brought the storm back. Now let's talk about the impact, because this isn't just about angry politicians and slammed podiums. This is about real consequences for millions of people on both sides of the border. U.S. automakers scrambling to adjust production timelines. Companies like Ford and GM, heavily reliant on Canadian metal, are now facing component delays and price hikes. American construction firms watching in horror as rebar and beam costs spike by over 18% in a week. Even the Pentagon's suppliers are getting nervous because a surprising amount of U.S. military-grade steel used in ships, tanks, and aircraft comes from specialized Canadian manufacturers. And the markets woke up swinging. Stocks in American steel-dependent industries took a beating. U.S. Steel Corp dropped 4.1% overnight. Nucor Corp slid 3.7%. Meanwhile, Canadian steel manufacturers saw a modest uptick because guess what? The EU is eager to buy. Trump, of course, isn't backing down. After Canada's announcement, he went on a tweet storm. Yes, he's back on social media, writing, "Canada is playing economic hardball." That's fine. America doesn't need Canadian steel. We'll make it ourselves.
We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things.
Sure, Don. Just remind the folks how many U.S. foundries you reopened last time. Now, let's dig into why Canada actually pulled the trigger. Because this isn't just some emotional reaction, it's chess. First, economic defense. The Canadian steel industry employs over 23,000 workers directly and supports more than 100,000 jobs indirectly. When Trump's tariffs returned, it put billions in annual exports at risk. Second, political optics. Canada's own elections are nearing. Prime Minister Trudeau, who has often been criticized for being too soft in foreign policy, saw this as a golden opportunity to take a firm stand. He needed to project strength, sovereignty, and decisiveness. And he did. Third, preparation. Canada didn't leap into this blind. They've spent years building the infrastructure to survive a decoupling. And unlike 2018, they're ready. What does the future look like? Well, here's where it gets murky. Washington insiders say that even some Republican lawmakers are privately panicking. The Rust Belt states that Trump is trying to energize are also the states whose factories are bleeding without Canadian imports. Meanwhile, in Canada, business confidence is surprisingly strong. Steel plants in Ontario and Quebec are shifting production toward Asian and European markets. Their government has even pledged subsidies to help factories retool for alternative buyers. So, ironically, the only country bleeding right now might be the United States. And let's not forget the bigger picture here. This kind of economic nationalism, slap tariffs and see what happens, is risky business. Because once a nation learns to operate without you, they might never come back. That's the real danger Trump faces now. Not just political backlash or economic hiccups, but the long-term erosion of U.S. trade influence across North America. Canada has shown it can survive without America. Can America say the same? So what's next? Negotiations are frozen. The White House is officially monitoring the situation. Trump is fuming. Canadian exporters are shifting lanes, and you might want to look at the price tag on your next fridge, because it just got a little more expensive. Two allies, one medal, a mountain of tension. Was Canada's move bold or reckless? Is Trump defending American workers or just lighting another trade fire? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you support Canada's bold stand, or do you think this will come back to bite both countries? And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more global showdowns, broken down without the jargon, because this isn't just news, it's history, still hot off the forge.